Hey, this is Dr. Perrotta at UC Merced. I'm going to do a synthesis problem. It's carboxylic acid type derivative because I'm going from a benzyl cyanide to that of this ester. So one thing you'll notice is I've added a couple of methyl groups to the benzylic position, which is this carbon atom here, and then we've also added an ester group at the end here. So that means that I've got to, in essence, add two methyl groups and then add this ester part later. So you kind of going to want to go backwards in this synthesis, like that's the typical strategy, and you want to go back to the actual alcohol that would have been useful, which is this alcohol, and then we want to condense that with the ester part of the acyl group. So the acyl group that I would need, or one of them that I could possibly use, is that of acetyl chloride, and to do this in pyridine would be the best way of doing it. Pyridine. So you can do this in pyridine. You could also use triethylamine as well. So at that point, we're going to have to think about how we can generate this alcohol, which is a tertiary alcohol, from this benzyl cyanide there, or benzyl nitrile. So the way that you would go from the benzyl nitrile to this, there's a number of different ways. I'm going to choose one way and then possibly show you if there's some time to do another way. But I'll do the most direct way that I would think of to do this. One way is to add a Grignard to that of cyanide and then do a subsequent hydrolysis. So what I want to do is to eventually get to this methyl ketone like this, and then to go from this methyl ketone, I can add another methyl group to get to the alcohol by using methyl Grignard. So I can add methyl magnesium bromide and then do an aqueous workup step to get us to that alcohol. So I need to get to this methyl ketone, and so the way that I would be able to get to that methyl ketone using just directly from the cyanide, like I said, there's a number of ways of doing it, and one way of doing it is to add methyl Grignard, and it doesn't really matter how many equivalents, it will only add once, and then you'll do a hydrolysis step to get to that of the ketone plus ammonia. So we got to the methyl ketone here through a hydrolysis and Grignard reaction, first a Grignard reaction, then a hydrolysis of the benzyl cyanide, and then we're going to add another methyl Grignard to effectively add these two methyl groups to our alcohol. Then we already have the next leg of the synthesis over here. For our next step, we already have that in place. So that's why we would kind of want to think about any synthesis problem doing it retrosynthetically by thinking it in reverse. So the key is to get to this alcohol, and then it's just a simple acylation using whatever carboxylic acid derivative you want to use, as long as it's a higher order carboxylic acid derivative, with the exception, of course, of maybe possibly a carboxylic acid, in which case you could do a Fischer esterification. But I chose the acetyl chloride because that's pretty much a safer option. You could also pick the acetyl anhydride, and that would have worked fine in pyridine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a different version of the way that you would solve this problem. And so ultimately there's different ways of getting to that alcohol. So another way to get to that alcohol is we could hydrolyze this benzyl cyanide to that of the carboxylic acid. So we can go from here to the carboxylic acid, benzoic acid, like so. And we can do this through hydrolysis, H3O plus, and heat will get us to the carboxylic acid. Now from the carboxylic acid, I can make the ester and then add two equivalents or excess Grignard to get to there. So from benzoic acid, I'm going to choose to make the methyl ester using a Fischer esterification. So the way you do that is catalytic H+, and I'm going to pick a simple ethanol. You could have done it with any other alcohol. Simple alcohol, do a Fischer esterification. Of course, you could probably go through the acyl chloride or benzoyl chloride, but I'm going to go directly to my ester, just showing you the plethora of different ways of getting through this synthesis. So you get from to the ester, and then I can go all the way to this alcohol if I wanted to by using excess of methyl magnesium bromide and then doing aqueous workup step here. And that's one way of also getting to your same alcohol. So this is two different ways of doing the same synthesis. There are probably others. I just wanted to show you two different ways of alternative ways of doing it in sort of the most direct way as possible. So that's how I would go about doing this synthesis, and that's how you would make this ester. At least two different ways of doing it, which are perfectly fine ways of doing it. So that's it for this video, and that's it for this synthesis.